All right, and we should be live. How are you guys doing this evening? Turn my audio levels up here a little bit. There we go. So, I didn't want to confuse you guys. I think the last live stream I had said something confusing on the way out. I said Merry Christmas or something like that, and whatever. If I don't hear from you or something like that, I didn't mean I wasn't going to do any more streams. So I meant that I don't even know why I said that on the end of the last stream. I was just saying Merry Christmas. So I realized we had like 30 days left in December. So I still plan on doing these streams. I'll let you guys know if I'm not going to do one, but still. The plan is to keep doing these Mondays, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time until further notice. So we'll just see how it all goes. Right on. All right. So tonight I kind of just wanted to go over Hoshizaki Ice Machines. We'll just kind of cover some tips and some things that after the video that I just posted that I thought were important. There's some interesting facts, something actually really interesting that I want to cover too about the Hoshizakis. So right on. Um, the first thing I want to start talking about is, okay, Hoshizaki Ice Machines. We'll talk about Manitowoc Ice Machines another night. So I just kind of want to go into detail on the Hoshizakis and cover some tips tonight on those. The biggest thing about Hoshizakis that you need to understand is that they have a stainless steel evaporator. Okay. The stainless steel evaporator is a lot more, it's not as susceptible to, I shouldn't say it's not as susceptible. The difference between the stainless steel evaporator and pretty much all the other restaurant manufacturers of ice machines is that the other manufacturers use nickel plated uh, evaporators, basically. Okay, so you have to use a special cleaner for nickel plated evaporators. You have to use nickel safe cleaner. Okay, but on the Hoshizaki ice machines, you're allowed to use basically pure phosphoric acid, pretty much. Okay, that's what the clear. If you buy like the new Calgon ice machine cleaner or other brands make a clear too, and it's pretty much just pure phosphoric acid. Hoshizaki approves those. Hoshizaki actually makes their own cleaner too, called Scale Away, I think, or something like that, that you can buy, and it's their own branded cleaner. Um, that's funny. Kyle King, Hoshi tip number 1, replace. That's pretty funny, dude. So, but here's the interesting fact that I just found out. So when I was coming up, and for the longest time on Hoshizaki ice machines, it was always told to me that you can use any ice machine cleaner that was out there. Okay. And let me make sure you guys understand this. I'm giving you an example right now. Okay. So originally it was said that you could use the full strength ice machine cleaner, which is the clear, which is typically just phosphoric acid, or you could use nickel safe. Okay. Now there's a couple different manufacturers of nickel safe now, but in the past, nickel safe was just diluted down phosphoric acid. Okay. They added a green dye to it, and then they would just basically use citric acid. And they would just dilute down the phosphoric acid. Okay. And it wasn't as strong, basically. But that's not the case anymore. And some manufacturers of ice machine cleaners, their nickel safe doesn't even have citric acid in it. So they kind of all have kind of done their own thing now. Okay. But what's interesting is that I was reading in the Hoshizaki Tech Specs book recently, and there's an actual passage in the book that specifically says not to use nickel safe ice machine cleaners on Hoshizaki ice machines if they have citric acid in them. And Hoshizaki says that the citric acid attacks the tinning flux that holds the evaporator plates together, which is very interesting because if you guys have worked on a lot of Hoshizakis in the last couple of years, Hoshizaki's been having a problem with their evaporators separating more so lately than ever. So I thought that was pretty interesting because, they're basically associating the evaporator separating with people using ice machine cleaners that have citric acid in them, which, I don't know, at least in my area, not many people use nickel safe ice machine cleaner on Hoshizakis because everybody knows it's kind of not as powerful. So I always thought that interesting. So I don't know if that's just a cop out on Hoshizaki's part, like they can't figure out what's going on with their evaporators and they're just, assuming it's the ice machine cleaner. But most people use just the regular clear, which is just phosphoric acid. So I thought that was interesting, though. I'm actually going to pull something up right here. Let me find this right here, and I'm going to pull a screen share up for you guys and show you something here. which I thought is interesting. So this is in the Hoshizaki Tech Specs book right now. I'm sharing that with you guys right now. And if you look right down here where it says cleaners, look at this right here. It says that you can use, any approved ice machine cleaner with this percentage of phosphoric acid. Okay. And it says nickel safe is safe as long as it does not have citric acid. And that's right where it says. So this is a new passage in the Hoshizaki book. This didn't used to be here. And I just came across this recently when I was reading the book. It's been a while since I've actually read the cleaning section. And that's when I noticed that. So I thought that was pretty interesting that that's going on there, because, in my head, I've got the old school mentality. It was always safe if you didn't have, just the clear ice machine cleaner that you could use just nickel safe. But this isn't the case quite, or, isn't quite the case anymore. So I'm going to turn that screen share off. So I thought that was interesting. But, another thing that I want to point out too, a lot of people have asked me where I get the tech specs book. Okay. That orange book that I use in my video. You can get those directly from Hoshizaki. Now, when I say directly from Hoshizaki, your distributors aren't going to be the people that are going to get those to you. Okay. You need to call Hoshizaki direct, basically. Okay. So you can't go to your normal refrigeration supply house that might distribute Hoshizaki Ice Machines. It's going to be difficult for them to get those books. If you call Hoshizaki direct, okay, Hoshizaki Western is who we use out here. And it's actually Hoshizaki, okay? And all the local refrigeration distributors order parts from them, but you can also order direct from Hoshizaki. So that's what you need to do. You need to reach out to Hoshizaki themselves and ask for the books. Now, your distributors can also get the books too. I don't know why it's difficult for people to get those, but you're just better off getting a hold of Hoshizaki direct, talking to the parts department, and you'll have to pay for the books. Sometimes they'll give them to you for free, but most of the time, like 15, 20 bucks a book. But they're definitely worth it. Now, if you just want a digital copy, you can go to Hoshizaki's website, HoshizakiWestern.com, or no, HoshizakiAmerica.com. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the screen share again and show that to you guys. So if we go to right up here, look in the search bar, it says HoshizakiAmerica.com. If you go there, and if you go to support, technical, right here, this is the pocket guides, the orange book. Okay, you just find the most recent revision right here, and it just downloads onto whatever device you want. You can open a internet PDF, or you can download it onto your thing. So, sorry, I was looking for that, but yeah, you can download it, and then that has all the information in it too, so you can store it on your phone, whatever. So this is the book right here. And it's basically what you guys have seen in my videos. It has all the information in it. So you guys can do what you will with that. So that's HoshizakiAmerica.com. And you can download those and use them up. They've also got some really good information. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the book right here. It's pretty thick. They used to be a lot thinner, but what they did was they combined two books in here. So basically halfway through, that's one half. And then the other half is the flaker book. So if you work on any of the flakers or the cubelet machines, those are the ones. Really important is, if you don't already know, in the back of that, it comes with a piano wire. That's a bearing gauge for the flaker ice machine. So you can test the upper bearing on the evaporator housing to see when it fails. So those are really good. That's what you don't get when you download it digitally. You don't get that bearing gauge. So me personally, I don't know about you guys. Internet's really cool because, or your phone is really cool to have PDFs on them, but I prefer to hold the PDFs in my hand. Or I shouldn't say PDFs, but I prefer to hold the books in my hand because I feel like the book is just easier for me to navigate. Now, I'm probably, a little bit more of the old school mentality, and, because I remember before the internet. So I don't know if it's just me or if it's the same for you guys too, but I just, prefer to have the book in my hand. So another really important thing before I go on to another topic on these Hoshizaki ice machines that I wanted to share with you guys is this book right here. If you go to any of the Hoshizaki training classes, you'll get this cleaning book, and it's actually really cool because it's just a booklet basically, and I'll pull it up on the screen share right now. And it tells you how to pretty much clean just about every ice machine, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share again if I can do this. And this is also in the same thing, HoshizakiAmerica.com, technical, and just go inside there. And you've got this book right here, Ice Machine Cleaning and Sanitizing, and it gives you all the instructions for all the different model numbers. If you look right up here in the right-hand corner, it tells you the model numbers and then tells you, you know, how to do it. Basically the cleaning instructions that are on the back of the machine. So, or on the back of the panel for the machine. So, but it has pretty much everything in there. You guys can go through these and it has all this information. This is one really important thing I want to show you guys right here. If you see, they have all the parts inside of a bucket. I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen share off, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. When I'm cleaning my ice machines, okay, first off, the times that it says on the back of the ice machine door or in the book are not accurately represented, okay? You can't clean a Hoshizaki ice machine in 20 minutes, not thoroughly, okay? When you're working on a Hoshizaki ice machine, I consider there's two different types of cleaning. There's a deep clean, and then there's just a chemical clean. Chemical clean, in my opinion, is what it says on the back of the door, and that's just where you pour the cleaner into the machine, follow the instructions, put it into the wash cycle, and just let it circulate, okay? But then there's a deep clean, and that's you start with the chemical clean, and then when the chemical clean is done, you turn the machine off and you take the machine apart, and then you soak the ice machine parts in a giant bucket or container of ice machine cleaner, and then you scrub down the machine with a damp towel, you know, and get everything clean. And then you use the tube brush to scrub the tubes and all that good stuff. Okay. So it's important that you understand that most of the time you got to do that, especially if you're doing a deep clean. You really got to take that machine apart. And, you know, Hoshizaki, in my opinion, Hoshizaki ice machines are not difficult to clean. They're just time consuming. That, and because it's all stainless steel evaporator, you cut your hands up if you're not paying attention, because you got to take it apart and the stuff is sharp. So pay attention to that, because you don't want to be dripping blood into those machines. Been there, done that. You got to make sure you follow all the proper procedures. Really, really important too, when you're cleaning those machines, is when you're all done, you always have to run a sanitizer solution through the machine. Okay. Follow the instructions on the sanitizer solution. New Calgon makes it. I think it's the IMS sanitizer or something like that. And, you know, that basically sanitizes all the surfaces after you're done cleaning. And, you know, that way you can get the machine back into normal operation and you don't have to worry about any kind of possible contamination inside that machine. All right. Very, very important that you're following those sanitizing procedures. And that goes for any ice machines. But again, for the new people that are just coming in tonight, we're just talking about the Hoshizakis. Okay. We're talking about cleaning tips. And, I'll recap real quick for the people that weren't in the very beginning of this. Go to HoshizakiAmerica.com, and that's where you can download this book. Okay. Like I said a few minutes ago, if you want a physical copy of this, you need to talk to your Hoshizaki parts supply house. Okay. Sometimes you can get these from your refrigeration distributors, but most of the time you have to go to Hoshizaki direct. Okay. So out here in Southern California, we use Hoshizaki Western. I don't know what they call themselves. I don't know if they call themselves Hoshizaki Eastern on the East Coast. I don't know, but out here they're called Hoshizaki Western. So, but yeah, we'll pick up these books. They're 10 to 20 bucks a piece. Sometimes they'll give them to you for free, but I usually go in and say I want 4 or 5 of them. So I usually pay for them because I give them to all my guys. So, also, right about now is this time of year where all ice machine manufacturers are going to start doing their trainings, or they're going to publish their trainings. Usually around the first of the year, they publish when their training classes are going to be. And then they start like a tour and go across the US, up into Canada, down into the islands and different places. Okay. So if you go to HoshizakiAmerica.com, they have a training tab. You look on that. I just looked at it right now. Their training schedule is not published yet, but it will go up there soon. But that goes for all manufacturers of ice machines. They all publish about the same time, the first quarter of the year. So those will be coming up. And then most of the time you can go to the Hoshizaki training class. It usually costs, I don't know, 80, 90 bucks or something like that. And then they'll feed you, give you a class that'll make you want to fall asleep, but it's still good to go. And they'll give you these books. So it's really important that you continue to go too, because even though I joke like it's going to make you fall asleep, you still do pick up a few nuggets of information in there. And the best thing that I find in the training classes is just being able to converse with the tech support guys that are teaching it, because most of the time you just hear them on the phone, so you can ask them your little questions, you know, when the class is over and different things, and they'll share some little tips and different stuff with you. So that'll be helpful for you guys. So pay attention to the Hoshizaki website for those training classes that are coming up. All right, so I have a list here. Really important whenever you're working on ice machines. This pretty much is across the board on all the major manufacturers. They have a 3-year parts and labor warranty. Okay, that's Hoshizaki, Manitowoc. I'm pretty sure Isomatic, and I'm pretty sure Scotsman is the same, but I know Manitowoc and Hoshizaki for sure. 3-year parts and labor. That's the standard warranty on the ice machines. Okay, these are commercial ice machines, not necessarily residential. So keep that in mind when you're working on the machines. You always want to look at install dates. And that's also why it's very important when and if you do install an ice machine, you always want to write the startup date on the control panel. So that way the next guy knows, hey, this machine's out of warranty. Okay. The other thing too is with Hoshizaki, it's pretty standard with Manitowoc too. They have a 5-year compressor warranty on their ice machines also. And that's the commercial ice machines. The 5-year compressor warranty, is not labor also. It's usually, so you get 3 years labor on the ice machine altogether, and then the extra 2 years are just the part if the compressor fails. So that's something to remember when you're working on the ice machines before you start changing parts, is that they typically have a 3-year parts and labor warranty on them. So now I kind of covered it a little bit more or in the beginning, but I just want to kind of reiterate a little bit. Most manufacturers, now it's changing a little bit, but most manufacturers of ice machine cleaners, they have 2 types. They have nickel safe and non-nickel safe. Okay. When we're talking about like New Calgon, their liquid ice machine cleaner, which is non-nickel safe, is basically just phosphoric acid. Okay. And their nickel safe cleaner is phosphoric acid and citric acid mixed together. Okay. So nickel safe is typically a diluted down phosphoric acid mixture, and they just add citric acid to help because they've diluted down the phosphoric acid. Okay. Like I said in the beginning of the video, Hoshizaki just came out with a new bulletin that's new to me that says they do not want you using nickel safe ice machine cleaner on their evaporators anymore because they're worried about the tin solder that holds the evaporator plates together, which is interesting. So keep that in mind. You need to make sure you're using approved ice machine cleaner on any manufacturer that you're working on. Okay. Very, very important. I will get to some questions. I'm not really paying attention to the chat right now, guys, just because I want to go through these topics I have real quick, and then I'll pay attention to the questions and we'll go through that stuff. Very, very important tech tip I want to bring up, and this is because I've made this mistake, is that you do not ever want to mix cleaners. Okay. This is a mistake that I've made, and it scared me literally almost to death. I mean, it was bad. But when I say you don't want to mix cleaners, old school way that we used to clean ice machines, and the only reason why we don't do it anymore is just because liability reasons. But when we used to sanitize the ice machines, we would just use bleach. Okay. And that's a very common thing. You would just use a proper mixture of bleach with water after you were done cleaning it, and that would sanitize it. Now today we use the approved sanitizers, essentially. IMS sanitizer by New Calgon, I think is what it's called. But so what I was doing was I was working on an ice machine one time. I ran nickel safe ice machine cleaner through it, dumped all the water down the drain like it was supposed to. And then right after that, I ran bleach through the ice machine to sanitize it. Well, after I got done running the bleach cycle, all of a sudden I could smell chlorine gas coming out of the drains, multiple drains throughout the restaurant. So what happened was I'm assuming that there was still the phosphoric acid ice machine cleaner in the P trap or something. And when I poured the bleach down, somehow they mixed and it started coming up the drains, just the fumes from it. Okay. So if you mix the acid with the bleach, it creates a chlorine gas, and that's very dangerous, and it can be a big problem. So think about it. If you had a full restaurant of people and you were cleaning an ice machine out in the customer's area or something like that, and you were to happen to mix those chemicals, that wouldn't be a good thing. They would evacuate the restaurant. So you never, ever want to mix chemicals. You always want to be cautious about that, because you don't want to hurt yourself or a customer, and you don't want to get your company in trouble either. That one scared me quite a bit because I started to kind of panic as I was walking around the restaurant in the back of the kitchen because I could smell it coming up all the floor drains. And it was just like, what do I do? What do I do? So what I did was I just flushed it down. I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I just grabbed a water hose and just started pouring it down the drains and just trying to flush it all out of the building. Luckily, it wasn't enough to create a big, it wasn't like creating yellow smoke or anything like that, but it's definitely a scary thing. So you want to be very cautious about mixing chemicals. Okay. Another really important safety factor that you want to take into consideration when you're working on, and this kind of goes for all ice machines, but this applies to Hoshis too. If you're working on an ice machine that has a dispenser, okay, so it's a soda dispenser with an ice machine on top of it. They usually have a hopper underneath the ice machine with an agitator in it, and it spins the ice and shoots it out the chute, right? That you put your cup up to and you collect the ice. You always want to make sure that when you de-energize the ice machine, you also de-energize the dispenser because usually they're separate power sources. And the reason why I say that, even if you have your ladder stacked in front of that dispenser so that customers can't go up and hit the little button, that dispenser agitates on a regular schedule to make sure that the ice doesn't turn into a giant block. So randomly, that dispenser will start agitating. And if you're working or trying to clean the inside of that dispenser, just because you have the ice machine off, it doesn't necessarily mean the dispenser's off. So you always want to make sure you unplug that dispenser at the same time because those dispensers will rip your arm off. They will not, they are very, very strong. So if you've ever seen what those dispensers can do when they just destroy themselves inside, it's insane. Okay. They have a lot of torque and they could really hurt you. So you always want to be careful about that. Okay. Always want to make sure you're de-energizing whatever you're working on and keeping yourself safe. Okay. And I know there was one other thing I wanted to cover here. Oh, that's what it is. Another thing that I don't think people quite understand enough is that ice machine cleaners, they become neutral after a little while. Okay. So essentially they stop working. I was trying to research the number because I know I've heard it multiple times, but I think it's about 20 to 25 minutes. So if you pour ice machine cleaner in an ice machine, it's essentially no longer effective after about 20 to 25 minutes. So there's no point in circulating it any longer. Okay. You need to, if you need it to keep going, then you need to put new cleaner into that machine. So if you have a really bad scaled up machine, don't think that you're going to somehow hotwire it so that way the pump runs all night and you come back in the morning. There's no point in doing that because the cleaner stopped being effective after about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay. So something to think about. I wish I had the exact number. I was trying to research it, but I know I've heard it multiple times and that's just something I've always known. So pretty much all ice machine cleaners do the same thing and they just kind of go neutral after so much time. So, all right. Hopefully some of that stuff made sense to you guys and helped you guys. I try not to, bore you with too much there, but I thought those were some important facts that we needed to share. I'm going to, go into the, comments here and see if I'm missing any questions as of yet. If you guys do have any questions, go ahead and throw them in there. Very, very important. I do see up in here, you want to make sure you're using approved cleaners. Okay. There's a lot of cleaners out there that are not approved and they can be dangerous and cause problems. When you're working on ice machines, you're working on something that the customer is going to eat when you leave. Okay. So you want to make sure that you are following the instructions to a T. You don't wing it. You don't just guess. Okay. You follow the instructions to a T because it's not just your company's ass on the line. It's your ass. You're a trained, certified technician that's working on that ice machine. And when you leave, the customer is going to eat that ice that it's going to produce. And if you did something wrong, that comes back on you. So you always want to make sure that you're safe. Okay. And that you follow the instructions to a T because, if you follow the instructions, then you did what you were supposed to do. But if you wing it and just kind of, oh yeah, I'm just going to go grab some, whatever cleaner off the shelf over there, CLR or whatever, that's not necessarily food safe. So you want to be very cautious about this. Now, I will say that I have heard of some ice machine manufacturers as a last ditch effort of not being able to get an ice machine cleaned. I've heard of them telling you to use certain cleaners like some kind of CLR or something weird like that, Lime Away, whatever. But you don't want to do that on a regular basis. And you want to get written approval or verbal approval from, your boss and everybody before you do that. Okay. You always want to use factory approved ice machine cleaners on these machines because you want to cover your ass. Okay. You want to be safe and you want to make sure that you don't make anybody sick. Okay. Very important. And, speak your mind. If you accidentally cut your hand and you drip blood into that machine, make sure you say something after you're done, sanitize it appropriately. So that way your bacteria that's in your blood doesn't get into that machine and cause someone else to get sick or whatever. Okay. So make sure that those are silly things. Like, you wouldn't think I'd have to say that, but you gotta make sure people understand that stuff. So, okay. I do see someone in here saying Hoshizaki's Scale Away works amazing, and it does. Their Scale Away ice machine cleaner is a very good ice machine cleaner. You want to know something interesting, because I was doing some research on that. I don't know if I'm 100% accurate, but their MSDS sheet actually says Ecolab on it. So I'm pretty sure that Ecolab actually mixes their chemical for them, and then Hoshizaki sells it essentially, which I thought was interesting. But when I was looking at the MSDS sheet of the Hoshizaki Scale Away, I was trying to see, theirs is different. It's not just phosphoric acid. They use some other cleaners inside of there. So I thought that was interesting too. Especially when I was coming up, I always thought that the new Calgon liquid ice machine cleaner was like, the only cleaner we used. But then as things went on, I come to find out that each manufacturer has their own cleaners. Manitowoc has their own, Isomat, they all have their own, and they want you to actually use their own. Now, part of that I know is just kind of like a sales thing. If you look at the MSDS sheets and you break down the chemicals that are in those, then that's when you can find out if your cleaner is the same as theirs or is effective, So one thing I will say is just to give a slight little plug on nickel safe ice machine cleaner. I recently discovered that Refrigeration Technologies makes a nickel safe ice machine cleaner, and I've actually tried out using it on a couple Manitowoc ice machines, and it's actually very effective. I find it to be work even better than normal nickel safe ice machine cleaner. So that was just a whole nother thing. But yeah, Refrigeration Technology is the same company that makes Nylog and Big Blue. They actually make an ice machine cleaner, and it's pretty good. I haven't used their cleaner on the Hoshizaki machines yet, because I believe they do have a regular clear one. I've only used their nickel safe, but sorry, I digress. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to go back up in here to the comments and see what I'm missing here, guys. What I missed. Okay. Where do you go for ice machine cleanings or ice machine trainings? Ivan, you asked. Sorry if this has already been answered, but what you want to do is reach out to the manufacturer, and they're going to have the scheduled cleanings. So just go to their website, whether it be Manitowoc, Hoshizaki, or anybody, and they'll have a training tab somewhere, and it'll show you guys where the classes are at and gives you the opportunity to sign up for them. So that's the best way to do it, and then to get their books and then read the books. Okay. What I will say is don't go to any manufacturer's training class, at least the regional, Hoshizaki class that they hold and they come to you basically. Don't expect to be certified to work on an ice machine when you leave that class. Okay. It's just going to basically show you an informational video that you could also find on YouTube, on Hoshizaki's YouTube page. And, but there will be some other tips you can get at the class, and they give you some information and literature too. But if you wanted to, you could just watch, go to Hoshizaki's website, and they have the videos that they show in the training classes right on their website, or right on their YouTube page too. So, but you can kind of do that for most manufacturers. Manitowoc has a YouTube page and a website, so just reach out to the manufacturers, and they'll tell you when and where their training classes are. If you ever get the opportunity, try to make it to Hoshizaki's, basically factory training in Peachtree City, Georgia. Same thing with Manitowoc. If you can go to Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and go to their training class, that is where, when you leave that class, you will know your shit. So if you can ever get the time, they're usually like 3-day classes, 4-day classes. Those are worth every penny that they cost. You usually have to fly to them, spend, half a week there, but those are great classes. I myself have not had the opportunity, or the time, I should say, to go to an actual factory class, but I have done like regional training classes that are like 3 days long for Manitowoc ice machines, and it was a great class. But I know the Hoshi one is just as good. So if you can ever get to the actual factory training class, do it. It's totally worth it. So, okay, I'm going down here a little bit more, see what I'm missing in the comments here. Okay. You can get the new Calgon cleaner at RSD. Yes, you can, Air Repair. RSD has the liquid ice machine cleaner and the nickel safe ice machine cleaner. They sell the new Calgon version. So does United. So does Allied. So you can find that there. All right. Keep going down in here. Yeah, if you are going to get the Hoshizaki stuff, you're probably better off getting it direct because sometimes I think you might be able to look on Partstown. Partstown sells a lot of stuff, and I think they might beat supply house prices for like Hoshizaki cleaner and stuff. So check out partstown.com. You can get some cleaners from there too. I think they've got some good stuff. So keep going down through here, seeing what I'm missing on the comments. Sean Price, there you go. Yeah, Partstown has the manuals as well. That's correct. Okay, keep going down. You know what's interesting, Brian? Brian Acatella says Partstown is expensive. Partstown, what you need to do is you need to reach out to your account rep with Partstown because they actually have amazing pricing. I get some killer pricing at Partstown, but it's because I have a manufacturer's rep and I talk to them and I ask them about pricing and tell them, hey, you know, I can go to Case Parts and get it for this much. And then they'll lower my pricing down because of that. So you just need to reach out to Partstown and talk to them and they'll work with your pricing. So they'll work with your, they'll try to be competitive as possible. And you know, what's interesting though, is since, so Partstown and 3Wire merged, there's like a weird merger thing happened where Partstown bought part of 3Wire or something like that. But when that happened, I thought maybe 3Wire's pricing was going to get better because their pricing used to be really high for me at 3Wire. What's interesting is that 3Wire's pricing got better than Partstown, but yet they're still the same company. So I thought that was really interesting. So 3Wire is now the cheapest for me, and Partstown is just a couple bucks more. It's still more convenient. But another interesting thing is if you go to order something from 3Wire, and they don't have it, it'll get shipped direct from Partstown. Like the box will come from Partstown and have a Partstown packing slip, but you bought it from 3Wire. So that's really confusing. I really don't understand the whole deal there, but nonetheless, Partstown has a great website though. So that's great. I see you're in here, Rick. How you doing, man? Yeah, I prefer the book. The book is the best way. So I prefer holding it myself. Yeah, Roy, I'm not a fan of reading off my phone myself either because I just find it difficult to, you know, I can hold a page and then scroll to another page with my fingers when I'm holding a book. So, okay, keep going down through the comments, seeing what I'm missing here, guys. The book makes you look smarter. You know what? The book does is the book makes it look like you're actually doing something when you're waiting for an ice machine to cycle. If you're staring at your phone, the customer thinks you're playing on Facebook, even if you're looking at a PDF. That's an interesting problem and dilemma we run into is even though we get all this information on our phones and we have great technical information on there, we also have YouTube and Facebook. So how does the customer know you're actually looking at important information? When you have a giant book and they see your face in the book, at least it kind of looks like you're doing something so long as the book's not upside down. So, okay, keep going down here. Yeah, pretty much almost all manufacturers have YouTube videos now. So Nesu, yeah, 20 minutes if no one's around in a perfect world, sure. But we're talking my ice machines that I'm working on are usually 1,300 pounds and bigger. So, you know, it's not the easy little small ones. So there's a lot of parts that come apart. So if you're tearing them down, it's going to take a lot longer than 20 minutes. But if you're doing just a rinse and go, yeah, that'll take 20 minutes, no problem. So. Yeah, deep cleans typically, if I'm going to clean like a 1,300 pound machine, it's usually quoted for 4 to 6 hours. And then if I'm going to clean 2 machines, it's usually quoted for, I can get them both done in about 6 hours if I clean 2 machines. But usually one machine's about 4 because you still got to set up the chemicals and different things. So, you know what I get is the Rubbermaid totes. We carry the Rubbermaid totes that are about 10 inches tall. The big ones, and we keep those in our vans. And if we're going to do an ice machine cleaning, because the ice machine parts can break down and fit into the Rubbermaid tote, and you could fill it with hot water and ice machine cleaner and then let them soak, and then it gets submersed completely, and then you're not going to use any of the customer stuff. So I use those Rubbermaid totes for ice machine cleanings. And then when you're all done, you put them in your van and you can put stuff in them, and then, you know, just take it out when you go to do an ice machine cleaning. Also get yourself some of the pipe brushes from Granger's. I wish I pulled this up, but Granger has pipe brushes that are about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, like that. I just realized what I did. I got you guys all. But they're about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and you can clean the inside of the tubes and everything. So those are really great. And then also, if you guys don't know, Hoshizaki sells a brush that cleans the evaporators on theirs too, so you don't got to try to get your arms down there with Scotch-Brite. So I'm gonna keep going down here through the comments real quick. Okay. Brian Milburn, you said a Hoshizaki with a pressure washer. I mean, I could see a pressure washer doing the job, but here's the problem. Here's the dilemma that I have with using a pressure washer, because I usually use a hot water or a water hose with hot water in it and spray the top of the machine down. But how did you turn that machine off? Okay, so did you walk up to the ice machine and you turned off the? I'm working on a 1,300-pound machine. That's what I'm thinking in my head right now. So it's a single evaporator, but even one with a dual evaporator. Okay. You turn off the machine. When you pull the top off the ice machine and you pull the insulated cover off and you spray down inside of there, what you have to watch out for is when you pulled that top off of the ice machine, on the right hand side is usually where your water solenoid valve is at, your water inlet valve, right? And if you can picture how those inlet valves sit in the machine, they kind of have a screw that holds them up where it sticks through the top. That water inlet valve is always energized, or at least the neutral is energized, or yeah, the water valve is always energized. It always has a leg of power, I should say, at it. So turning the toggle switch off does not disconnect power to that machine. And where I'm getting at with this, because I've done it once and I've had another guy at my company do it too. If you've worked on any of the machines that have the designated neutral transformer in them, okay, sorry if I'm confusing you guys, but Hoshizaki has a thing. They need a designated neutral going to their ice machine, coming from the panel. So it needs to be a single neutral running all the way from the panel, not being tied into anything else. And if you can't get that neutral when you're retrofitting a Hoshizaki ice machine, replacing something else, they have a transformer. And that transformer essentially creates the neutral for them. Okay, it's kind of confusing, but you will short out that transformer if you get that water solenoid valve wet, even with the toggle switch off. So you have to be careful. If you're going to use a pressure washer, so be it. Make sure you de-energize the entire machine, and also still pay attention to where that water's going, because your circuit board cabinet and everything is over there on the right-hand side of the top of the machine, and you don't want to get any of that stuff wet. I just worry about a pressure washer because I worry that it's going to make a mess. So okay, I'm going to keep going down through here, guys, and trying to catch up. Sean Price, how dare you mention Cornelius Ice Machines? I can't handle Cornelius Ice Machines. You want to know something interesting? Is Isomatic. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if any of you guys in the chat have seen these or any of you watching videos, but I heard a nasty rumor that they finally came into the electronic world and put a circuit board in their ice machine, an actual circuit board with logic. I haven't seen it yet. That's just the rumor that I heard, which I don't know if that's going to be any better for him, but okay. Keep going down in here, seeing what the comments are saying here, guys. Okay, Fullet, Sean Price, you said Fullet has an ice machine cleaning powder. Yes, their ice machine cleaning powder is badass, but Fullet actually just changed to a chemical now. They no longer have a powder, it's a liquid. They just did that just recently. But yes, when you're working on a Fullet ice machine, I highly recommend you only use the Fullet cleaner, because most Fullet ice machines are in a medical situation, unless you're working in like one of the new restaurant machines that they're pushing out right now. But they have a specific cleaner that they want you to use for their machines, and it's very effective. So, but it's no longer a powder; it's actually a chemical, a liquid now. Okay, keep going down here. Just scrolling through, seeing what I'm missing, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and scroll down to the bottom in here and see. Yeah, okay, so now I'm down to the bottom. All right. Another thing that you guys want to think about when you're working on, and this isn't so much with Hoshizaki's, but it kind of does affect Hoshizaki's too. Okay, and this is going to be blasphemy when I say this, but you should never, ever use any kind of abrasive anything to clean an ice machine. Okay, if you're going to use a brush, it needs to be a soft bristle brush. If you're going to use a towel, or you need to use like a terry cloth or something to clean them. Now, I realize where I'm going with that, and I'll explain everything. But what's happening is, if you use a Scotch-Brite pad to clean the calcium off of an ice machine, you are scrubbing little grooves into that metal or into that plastic surface for bacteria to harbor in and to grow in. Okay, so you should never ever use anything other than a towel to wipe down an ice machine. Now, let's be practical. Most people don't clean their ice machines enough to be able to clean them with a towel. But keep that in mind. Okay. So if you're scrubbing down an ice machine and you're having to gouge the plastic, that plastic piece needs to be changed. Okay. Luckily for Hoshizaki's, we're dealing with stainless steel. So most of the time, the cleaner takes care of it and their brush will take care of the rest. But if you ask Hoshizaki, they'll tell you they don't want you to use Scotch-Brite pads or steel bristle, steel bristles or anything like that, because it actually it scratches the metal and creates little gouges for bacteria to grow in, and then it makes it even harder to clean. So, but like I said, being practical, I realize that most people don't clean their ice machines enough for that to work, and in all reality, you got to end up using a Scotch-Brite pad or something to clean it. Steel wool is the other thing I was thinking of. You want to be very cautious about that because it just creates those grooves. Okay, so I realize what you got to do. Yeah, what about a Mr. Clean Eraser? Yeah, that's just going to fill up with gunk and annoy the heck out of you. So, okay. Brian, I'm sorry I missed your question, dude. I don't know how far up. Can you ask it again? Sorry. I'll get lost trying to find it. There's so many comments going in here. Yeah, Jeff, I've put the ice machine parts into the dishwasher also. I'm just always afraid in the dishwasher that they're going to fall out and get stuck in the gears and different things. So that's why I'm like a little leery about that. But yeah, I've done it. So usually what I find is using those Rubbermaid totes, soaking it in hot water, and then rinsing everything out most of the time cleans everything out. Another thing, I was in a Hoshizaki training class last year, and someone was all agitated, and he got up to this, finally asked his question to the tech support guy, and he said, "Man, why do you guys make your hoses clear?" And everybody in the class kind of laughed. And the tech support guy said something really smart. Okay. And let's talk about their hoses. Their hoses are clear and they get all molded and, they need to be replaced. They're like gross. Okay. But he said, if we made them black, he goes, you wouldn't see that stuff and you wouldn't change them. And that stuff would be growing and you wouldn't be able to see it. And that's a really good point. Okay. So, the Hoshizaki machines, their hoses, they get all nasty looking. That's because they need to be replaced. It's just time. The type of material that they are, if they made them out of a material that you couldn't see through, that wasn't translucent, then you wouldn't see that stuff. Ignorance is bliss until someone gets sick, right? So that's another thing too, is that you need to understand that on the Hoshizaki machines, it's part of the normal wear and tear of that machine to have to change the hoses. That's just how they work. Okay. So you got to change those hoses every once in a while. And if you're in an environment that has high chlorine content in your water, what you'll start to notice is all of like the float boot and the black rubber hoses, like going to the overflow and different things, they'll start to disintegrate in your hands. I don't know if you guys have seen that before, but I've had that where the machines, you got to change all the rubber in them because the chlorine that's in the water just eats the rubber away. So something to think about. All right. Okay, Brian, great point. Setting dip switches to extend harvest times. Do I recommend it? Yes, I do. Okay. So I don't recommend that you start messing with the board if you don't know what you're doing. But I will say, and even Hoshizaki will tell you this too. Okay, here's the question. Someone had posted this in a comment the other day and they said, how is Hoshizaki keeping up with the water usage requirements? Okay, so I'm assuming that you guys have water usage issues like we do too, but out in California, it's gotten crazy where we're not allowed to waste any water and all this fancy stuff. Okay, but it's kind of becoming a federal mandate of low water consumption. Okay, and what the ice machine manufacturers have done is they've tweaked their ice machines and reduced the amount of water, reduced the amount of waste. Well, Hoshizaki is one of the #1 water wasters, okay? Because every batch of ice, they got to dump essentially, 2 gallons of water or a gallon of water down the drain, okay? Every single batch. So what Hoshizaki did was in their circuit board, they programmed it with logic to save water. But one of the cool things they did is they gave you the ability to take that water saving feature off. Okay. So what I like to do, because I'm very confident in the machines that I'm working on and I understand how they work, is I will go into the machines and I will extend the harvest times, okay, to help to reduce freeze up problems. I will also get rid of the water saving features that the ice machines have. when the customer's okay with it. I'm always going to run things by the customer. Okay. Now, by increasing the harvest times, you are going to reduce the 24-hour production of that machine. Okay. But it's going to be nominal. It's not that much. But also by the water saving feature, turning that off if your machine has it, that's going to help too, because your machine's going to get is going to get dirty faster essentially with the water saving feature. Okay. Turned on. So your machine will stay cleaner if you get rid of the water saving feature. So yes, I'm for adjusting Hoshizaki Ice Machines to reduce freeze ups. I'm definitely for extending harvest times for sure. If it's a really old machine, I'm going to extend the harvest time all the way as far as I can. And if it's a newer machine, I'll extend it somewhere in the middle to try to help reduce the freeze up problems. Now, I will say that out of all the freeze up problems I run into, the most common things that cause freeze ups on my Hoshizaki machines are low water flow coming into the machine and bad bin thermostats. Okay. Now, Hoshizaki has slowly been getting away from the bin thermostats and they've gone to like a bin button thing. Not a fan of it myself because they get calcified on the inside and they're kind of a pain in the butt to take apart. But they are getting rid of the bin stat. I think though, I'm pretty sure you can actually order a retrofit kit and change the button back to a bin thermostat. I'm pretty sure you can if you wanted to go that route. It won't be under warranty or anything like that. But yeah, so they've been, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. Okay, I'm going to keep going down here and seeing if I'm missing any other comments here, guys. All right. Blue Air, Mr. Ice. I've heard about Blue Air ice machines. I haven't looked at it. You know, another interesting thing for all you guys that old school guys is that Hoshizaki oh shoot, now I can't think of the name of it right now. They came out with their, you know, they've got their fancy ice machine for their bars. It creates a top hat ice cube, you know, so you can put one single, and then they also have this really fancy high-end square cube that goes in like a Scotch glass, and it like is the perfect fancy piece of ice. I haven't worked on any of those new machines. I've only seen pictures and videos of them. They look very interesting. So, all right, keep going down here. Ah, very good. Alicio, use hand gloves. Yes. I use hand gloves every time I work on those ice machines. So I'm actually going to pull something up and show you guys these gloves that I use because they are badass. So I've brought them up before. I used to buy gloves from Home Depot, like the rubber gloves, and I stopped because they don't last very long. Then I found some gloves at my local supply house, and they're great, but they were really expensive. Actually, let me go ahead and do a screen share here and I'll show you guys real quick. They're called Black Mamba gloves. You can get them from True Tech Tools right here. Black Mamba powder-free nitrile gloves. They're $11 a box. These things are the best gloves out there, in my opinion, that I've come across. They're not too thick. They're not too thin, but they are the best. And they last, and they're just great. I'm sure you can find them at your supply houses too. I just, you know, happen to get them from True Tech Tools because I like those guys and I try to support them. And I buy them like a case at a time. I buy like 12 boxes of large, 12 boxes of extra large. And then you can use anybody's offer codes. Tool Pros, Get Schooled, Shop Talk. All those guys have offer codes. You can use any one of those and get a good percentage off of these. And if you order enough, you usually can get free shipping too. So something to think about. The Black Mamba gloves, those are my favorite for doing ice machines. They protect your hands very, very well. And they're powder free and they're nitrile. So they're not latex. So you don't have to worry about getting anybody sick or, you know, anybody that's highly allergic to latex. So, okay, keep on going down here. See what else I see. Yeah, Alan. Yeah, you do have to make sure the board is compatible. So, also too, Hoshizaki has a new circuit board. They have a new circuit board that they just came out with, and you can retrofit it on old ice machines. And essentially, it has a water rinsing feature that essentially eliminates freeze ups the way it's explained to me. So do some research on that one. But essentially, if I remember right, it was explained that every couple cycles, it does like a really long harvest cycle and then a rinse after to make sure that every single ice cube is off of that evaporator. Okay. So I have like 2 problematic ice machines that I've been thinking about doing that conversion on. We're talking the customer into letting me put that new circuit board on there. So that way we can put that extended pump out period in there and eliminate the freeze up problems we've been having, because theirs is water related, but it's just almost impossible to solve this problem because they've got low water pressure coming into the building. And when they're on a busy night and they're slamming and they're using their dishwasher, the water pressure goes way low. And then I believe that's when the freeze ups are starting to happen at that particular restaurant, because we're not getting enough water flow to harvest all the cubes off the evaporator. And I've been wanting to put this board on there. So that's another cool tip too. They've got that new circuit board. I don't know what it's called, but I haven't used it yet. But I know I was talking to the local tech support guy about it at the last class he was telling us. So, okay. Okay, Javier Gutierrez, you asked how to identify a circuit board. If you open up the book to the thing, it tells you how to tell the difference between the boards. It usually tells you by the connector on it. It tells you, one of them has like 10 pins, one of them has 8 pins, or one of them will be a certain color, and it tells you, and it'll also tell you the part number on the board. And if you look on the board, it'll have a part number. So that's how you can identify which board it has. I do not know off the top of my head. You can send me an email and I can help you look that up a little bit, but it'll just be in the book. But that's Javier. Send an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com with this question, and I'll help you out a little bit more. That way I can keep going with this. Total Tech, when am I getting my own promo code? I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Someone send an email to True Tech Tools and tell them to give me a promo code. I be honest with you guys, with this whole videos thing, I'm at the point where I need to reach out to sponsors and different people, but I have a hard time with that. I'm just not a ask people for money kind of person. I know I need to do it because I'm investing a lot of time into this stuff, but I don't know. I have a hard time with that. So secretly, I've just been hoping that people would just email me. I know in all reality, that's not going to happen, but that's just kind of what I've been hoping on. But yeah, I need to get my own promo code though. So, okay, so let me keep going in here and see what I'm missing. Yeah, I'll do a Black Mamba giveaway for sure. Those things are great, man. I was thinking about it because so many people keep asking. I'll try to get some of these Hoshi books too. I'll try to get some of these Hoshi books and try to get some of the Manitowoc books, and then I'll try to do a giveaway and I'll start giving those away. Because I know a lot of the Hoshi people and Manitowoc people. I bet you I can talk some people into sending me some of that stuff. So I'll see what I can do. All right. Okay, guys. So that's kind of all I have about the ice machines. Hit me with any other questions you guys have. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Brian, I used to have some Sporlin posters on the back and stuff, but I don't know. They were just the problem with putting stuff on my back wall behind me is that my webcam doesn't focus really well, and it was irritating me. Like I'm sure you guys can tell if you look at it, it's kind of fuzzy in the background, but it's focused on me, and it's because I'm not using a fancy DSLR camera. So that's kind of why I took the stuff off, was because it was irritating me, because I would watch my streams after and I couldn't read what the poster said. So that's why I took the stuff off the wall. So I need to come up with something. Okay, Chris E, you said, what's happening with the heat unit that a customer needs replacing? I posted a video about it. I'm trying to remember which video was that. Was that a recent video? The heat unit. Gosh, dude, you got to refresh my memory on what. Did I post one about a heat exchanger? I can't remember, Chris. I'm sorry, dude. Recent. Do you remember what brand the machine, the air conditioner was? I'm sorry, dude. I have really bad memory when it comes to if I can't remember what it is, dude, send me an email and I'll remember. hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Sorry, my brain is kind of a fog lately. And the site survey one, that one we'll be getting, but I just haven't heard anything about it yet. That one's the carrier package unit. Yeah, I haven't heard if I gotten it yet, but I'm sure we'll get it. So I don't know if that's the one you were talking about, Chrissy. Right on, Alicio. Yeah. Okay. Thomas, you asked, what do I think about R32 refrigerant? So here in the States, The only refrigerant I'm dealing with, because I deal with commercial stuff, is R290, which essentially is the same thing as R332. It's just a highly flammable, just a different gas. But I mean, it is what it is. It's kind of frustrating that we have to deal with these flammable gases, but it's just another thing. If I'm afraid of it and I push back and refuse to work on it, then they're going to find someone else to do that stuff. So I'm not afraid of it. I've worked on R290 a bunch. It is what it is. You just got to follow some safety procedures. Any flammable gas you're working on. As far as using R32 instead of 410, is that a replacement for 410? I don't think that is, but I could be wrong. I honestly don't know. I'll have to do some research on that. Yeah, I'm going to get the RTU replacement, guys, but it's just the customer. It's the end of the year, so they're probably going to hold off until the first quarter of the next year before they approve it. So we'll get it. Okay, keep going down here. Yeah, Delfield loves the 290. So does True. So does Hoshizaki. Everybody's going the flammable refrigerants. Yeah, one person will get hurt, but there's not much you can do. You just got to deal with it. Yeah. Okay. My thing about R290, guys, I said this in a video recently, is I had a terminal vent on R404A compressor, and the customer's complaint to me was when they called me, they said there was flame shooting out of their box. So I went over there, and of course you always hear that, right? And usually you go over there and it sparks. No, the whole back of the box was like a fireball, and this was R404A. And essentially what happened was it had a terminal vent. The compressor oil got really hot. It blew it out over the arcing electrical components that blew the hole in the terminal, and it created a flame, from the hot oil. It combusted and it blew it out. So imagine if that was R290. That's my thing. And that's what everybody keeps saying. Oh, that's not going to happen. When I took the training classes and different things, they say the amount of R290 in a refrigerator is comparable to what's in a Bic lighter. Well, I don't care, because a Bic lighter is not a pressurized cylinder. A compressor is. So I have my, I have my fears about compressors and different things, with flammable refrigerants in them. And I realize that you're not going to have an explosion inside the compressor when it's sealed and under pressure. Okay. But what I'm afraid of is a terminal vent. When it blows the terminal out and then blows that flammable gas across the sparking starting components, that's when it's going to be a problem. There's going to be a giant, legit fireball blowing out the side of that box. And it is going to happen, because working in restaurants, most of the time they don't maintain their equipment. Things get hot, they overheat, they get wet, they short out, and they terminal vent. So, yep, it's going to be interesting. All right. Okay. Just kind of catching back up here. Okay. Yeah, Hoshi's going to R290. I just read that on their website. Yeah, I don't use new 22. I don't use any R22 replacements, but I'm not going to go into that today. I just use R22. So, Jeffrey, Vote Ice Machines, man. I haven't worked on a Vote Ice machine in probably 6 years. El Torito Restaurants, I used to do work for them way back in the day, and they used to have a lot of Vote Ice machines. And then so did Joe's Crab Shacks. I don't do work for them either, but they had a bunch of Vote Ice machines. Votes were fun to work on just because they were so giant and they were easy to work on. I mean, for the most part of the older votes, I haven't worked on any of the newer stuff, but I mean, it was just a bunch of, pressure controlled switches. And I dug their sight glasses on the old Vote R22 machines that had the giant sight glass that you would open the hand valves to so you can see the liquid level in the receiver. I thought that was a badass sight glass on those things. I always like to see the refrigerant. And I used to work on those, way back in the day before I really even understood what was going on. So the fact that when I first saw those ice machines in the early 90s, the fact that I could see liquid in a glass cylinder, it was just hard for me to fathom, because in my head at the time I didn't understand what refrigerant did and how it worked, so it was just crazy that I could see the liquid level in their giant sight glasses on those things. And then boy, changing a compressor on a Vote, man, trying to on the older machines where the stainless steel panels were welded on the sides and you couldn't take that side panel off, and you had to take the compressor out through that small opening in the front, and trying to get like, a pulley system to lift that compressor up was, it was always ended up just being like pry bars and 2x4s underneath it and slowly like moving it out inch at a time. For those of you guys that don't know, Vote ice machines are giant, essentially could be industrial ice machines, but they kind of had a popular thing going in the late 80s and early 90s where they were popping those machines in restaurants all over the place. And what I always thought was funny too was they would put a giant vote machine on a 1,200-pound bin. I never understood that because those machines were like 4,000 pound machines. One of the cool things I liked about the votes too was the models that could do cubed and flaked at the same time. That was really cool too, how they could, reverse the rotation of the cutter and then either do shaved ice or cubed ice. Those were awesome too. Yeah, the vote ice machines were a lot of fun to work on. They had their problems, but if I never got to do this, but if you wanted to, you could send those ice machines back to the factory for a full factory rebuild too. And then they could convert them over from 12 to, because a lot of ours were either R12 machines or 22 machines. So, and then towards the end of my run with the Vote ice machines and the Joe's Crab Shacks, they had some 404 machines. But I always thought it was like funny that I finally saw like they used to put the Ronco bin thermostats in those things. And I remember the old Vote bin thermostats were a pain in the butt. But anyways, that's a whole thing. But yeah, the Vote ice machines were fun. Total Tech, early 90s. I was a kid when I was working on that stuff, dude. I'm only 35, but I mean, it's just because I grew up in the trade. So I remember working on those with my dad, early 90s. That I was a little kid. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make it out like I'm some, legend. I was just a kid, but I was just curious, that was one of the coolest things on those Vote ice machines was that sight glass. I wish I had a picture of it, guys. I'd pull it up for you, but they had it basically on the receiver. They had two hand valves, and you would open the hand valve and there would be a glass cylinder that was about, I'd say 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch diameter. And it was clear glass and it was protected by a metal housing. But when you open those hand valves, you would essentially show yourself the liquid level in that receiver. And then they had a mark on the receiver that said, your liquid level needs to be here during the freeze cycle and different things. And yeah, the Vote ice machines they were so fun because it was one of those things where they were so confusing and so intimidating. But then once you figured them out, you're like, oh, okay, it's just, it's not a big deal once you figured them out. And they were fun to work on. The biggest issues that I had with Vote ice machines were the bin thermostats going bad and the pump motors going bad. Very rarely. I think I only changed maybe two compressors ever on a Vote ice machine, and then refrigerant leaks all day long, on the fittings on the top of the evaporator and everything. But yeah, those were fun, man. I wish I could work on some Votes now. It's just, they're just not practical in the restaurants anymore. So, I mean, if I still had a customer with a Vote ice machine, I would be willing to, when we changed it out, to try to keep it and just rebuild it just for the hell of it. I mean, or even try to sell it. You can send them back and get them rebuilt. Those things just lasted forever. There essentially should have been in an industrial situation, but it was funny how they popped up in restaurants. But okay, keep going down. That's interesting, Mr. Ice. Yeah. Yeah. I don't, all out here. All we get is, for the most part, we're getting rid of our Hoshis out here too. And it's all going to Manitowoc anymore. So most of the time it's just, Hoshi's kind of dying out, and Manitowoc's kind of the #1 brand when it comes to like the chain restaurants and stuff right now. It's kind of a bummer because I prefer the Hoshizakis. So, all right, keep going here. Sorry, G Martinez. All right, we're just kind of going over the questions and answers now and just bullshitting anymore. We covered ice machines was, yeah. Yeah, Ray, I am young. Sackman. Yeah, I started when I was in like junior high school working with my dad, and then officially started in 2002 is when I came full time to work for him. But as a kid, from the early 90s all the way up, I'd work weekends and summers, and anytime I was out of school, I'd work with my dad. I still run into restaurant managers and cooks and different things that have worked at the restaurants for 25 years, and they remember me. Oh yeah, I remember when you were a little kid sitting on your dad's. I'll tell you guys a funny story. When I must have been, how old was I? I must have been 12 years old. I was working on an El Torito Mexican restaurant with my dad long time ago, and we were working on a package unit on the roof. At the time, I was looking at, I didn't even know what I was looking at, and I don't know why my dad asked me to do this, but he had to go downstairs, I'm assuming, to look at the thermostat, and he told me to hold a control voltage wire. I think it was the R wire or something like that, and the unit was live, of course, we weren't following anything safe. So he says, hold this wire and don't let it touch anything metal, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm a 12-year-old kid. What are you going to do? I'm sitting here holding this wire going, well, what's going to happen if I touch something? And my curiosity just drove me nuts. I sat there for a minute thinking, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then I take that 12-volt or 24-volt wire and I said, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and touch the metal and see what happens. My dad was so pissed off at me when I told him. When he comes back up, he goes, what happened? And I go, I don't know. And of course I lied about it. Did you touch something? No, I didn't do anything. But I specifically remember taking the R wire and just touching the metal just to see what would happen. And of course, transformer didn't have a fuse on it or anything. And my dad was so pissed at me because I shorted out a transformer. And I still remember that to this day. Don't ever put a wire in a kid's hand and tell him not to do something with it, because he's curious. He's going to do it. And I was a 12-year-old and I just wanted to touch it. That was funny. All right. Yes, Chris E. I have had to go out to a service call on Christmas Day. Luckily, the restaurants that I service now, nobody's open on Christmas Day. Actually, there's one, but they won't call me out on Christmas Day. They're cool. But yeah, El Torito Mexican restaurants, they used to call us on Christmas Day. Yeah, we would definitely have to go out there and work. And then also, I work for a hospital. I don't do work for them anymore. It's been about 2 years since I've done work for them, but they would call you out 24/7. It didn't matter when. So yeah, we are 24/7. We get called out. So, okay. Is there any other questions in here, guys? And that comment is getting removed. Sorry, guys. I need to have like a Nightbot thing turned on so we get these people not spamming this group. Okay. Yeah, Rob, you're in Bullhead City, Arizona. We used to vacation out there a lot, and I know what you're talking about with the water temperature there, because you guys hit like 9,500 degree water temperature. A lot of times, what I've seen, I knew someone that had a restaurant out there in Parker, and what they would do is you would pre-cool the water. So basically, you would have a cooling loop in your walk-in cooler, and you'd bring the water coming in from the building into the walk-in cooler, have the fans from the walk-in cooler blowing on that water. Essentially, it would add extra load, but that's what you could do, in a weird situation where you had high water temperature for the ice machines, is pre-cool it in the walk-in cooler. Seen that done a bunch. Ray, yeah, the El Toritos, yeah, they're all getting closed down, dude. Most of them, they filed bankruptcy for the second time, and yeah, so yeah, I wish we cut off calls at 11 p.m., but unfortunately, I'm the boss, and that's just what we got to do. So, all right. What is the Destin C? You asked, what is the tablet that replaces the manifold? Okay, so the tablet did not replace the manifold. What it is the tablet has a program on it that reads the smart probes information. Okay, so there's there's a couple ways you can do it, but the best ways to do it is to get the field piece job link probes. Okay, and use the field piece app and or measure quick. Both of those will pull up on the tablet, and that's what you'll see me using in my videos. You can also do it with the Testo smart probes. You can also do it with the iManifold system, but in my opinion, my go-to right now is the field piece smart job link probes. Those are my favorite right now. So you could do that. All right, keep going down here. Okay, Sackman, you said you've been looking at getting the field piece job link and the digital manifold with the micron gauge. What do you think about them? I've seen mixed reviews. People love them or hate them. I think they are great. Love the field piece stuff. Sackman, do me a favor. Send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I want to talk to you about something. Okay. I just can't talk anymore about it right now, but I can answer that question a little bit more. So, okay. Doesn't Manitowoc made a heat exchanger just for that? I don't know, Andrew Hicks. Do they? I mean, you can probably make your own heat exchanger essentially, just like one of those molecular transformators. Just make a subcooler or whatever. Just run water through it and put it in the walk-in cooler or whatever. You could do that. Okay, keep going down here. What am I missing? Yeah, the job link probes are my favorite right now. So, okay, so for us, the king of the pub, you says, how much do I pay my guys to be on standby when it's their on-call weekend? So kind of out here, the way that we do it is you give everybody knows that they have to be on call and they have to be available. So you basically just get $100 bonus per check for the weekend that you're on call. Now, the way we do things is a little bit different. I do a rotating schedule, and the most you're on call is for 3 days at a time. Okay. So we're a small shop. So the way that we do it is we have a 5-week rotation, and essentially everybody has 1 day a week. Okay. And then one person has the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that's how we do our on call. So if you get the weekend, the Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you get $100 bonus on your check, and then you get paid time and a half for anything you have to work. That's how we roll out here. So I know I've heard other people do it differently, and we do the rotating schedule too, because since you get 1 day a week, you never get the same day every week. So it rotates every week. So that way you're not, you can't, you get it. So and then it works out that way. So that way in the middle of the summertime, when it's 115 outside, you don't have to be on call for 7 days at a time. You're only on call for, 3 days, and then everybody else covers 1 day. And we just do that rotating schedule. But again, we're a small company. So Scott Lawrence, and no, I have not ever worked on a Franklin ice machine. As far as the old ice machine goes, the oldest ice machine I worked on was a Crystal Tips. That's the only one. I've only worked on one. I've seen a bunch of them, but I've only worked on one Crystal Tips, and then everything else has been Hoshizaki's. I remember working on a lot of the old Hoshizaki DSSU machines, the old ones that had like stainless steel cube guides. Those were pretty cool because the cube guides lasted forever instead of the new plastic ones that just break. But the water pumps, they failed all the time on those old DSSU machines. So, Sean, oh yeah, Sean Price, you mentioned drive time. So yeah, you don't get paid to be on call with us, but you get paid time and a half if you have to work. And then also it's port to port. So, if it's an overtime call, the time you leave the shop or your house, if it takes you an hour to get to the customer's site, then when you're all finished with the call, you get paid drive time home too, however long it takes you to get home. So that's how we roll when it's overtime. And then normal regular time is just drive time to the job. And then when you're done with your last job, that's it. That's how we do it. Sackman, email is hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Here, I'll post it in here. So that's the email right there. Yeah, unfortunately, Ray, the taxes, yeah, it's just like a normal paycheck, dude. We have to. The IRS, believe it or not, if you don't know how the business stuff works, technically, I'm supposed to report the fact that I let my guys drive a van home too, because the IRS sees that as an income source. So the IRS is so crazy on stuff. We don't. I mean, we do. Never mind. Yeah, we do. We totally do. But you get what I'm saying there. So I'm always hiring, Sean. Always looking for new techs. I'm always willing to look at resumes. Anybody that's watching this, I'm always willing to look at a resume. Send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Always, always, always. Do we have any more questions, guys? Good gosh, we still have a lot of viewers in here. I still am baffled that you guys like to come in here and listen to me talk. Seems kind of silly. I will say, since we're done talking about the Hoshizakis, I will do, one of these videos on a Manitowoc ice machine and all those different things. My favorite ice machines to work on to this day is the Fullet countertop hospital grade ice machines. They're just so cool to work on, so easy to work on, so easy to troubleshoot, very easy problems. Like one of the most common things on the Fullet countertops is the start relay for the gear motor going bad, and the gear motor tripping out on high amps. And then other than that, cleaning issues. Though I think the Fullet machines have such a great design. Now, when you get into the newer machines, the ones that they're pushing out at the restaurants and stuff, I've worked on a few of those. I'm not a super fan of those. I really like the countertop models, the Symphony series countertop models. Um, I just installed a new Fullet machine at a gas station. Um, I'm a little disappointed how they turn the gear motor sideways on those machines, and it just seems like they're a little bit harder to work on those ones. But the countertop hospital grade ones are badass. So, um, okay. No, I did not see your question. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Say it again. I'm sorry. Or let me see if I missed it here. Okay, here it is. You were wondering how much I charged a customer for such a job on a late Saturday night compressor replacement. Okay. So that particular customer, first off, yes, it sucked that I had to work in the middle of the night, but I don't charge the customer any more than my normal overtime rate. Okay. So that particular job was a full overtime job. I think I was there probably for 10 hours. So they got 10 hours at time and a half. And then they paid me to drive home and they paid me to drive there. And then obviously we got parts markup and all that good stuff. So it was a big job, but I'm not going to gouge the customer, even though I was pissed off about having to work in the middle of the night and all that stuff. I'm not going to gouge them because I still want them to call me with normal service calls. Sometimes those ones, they suck having to get those middle of the night calls. Guys, he's talking about the video where I had a late night compressor change out and I found the red plastic cap in the rotolock valve and it had a bad condenser fan motor and all that. That was one from like a long time ago, but that's the video he's talking about. So yeah, it sucked having to work at night like that, but you can't gouge them because I want them to keep calling me back. And that's actually one of my really, really good customers. So you just charge them the normal time and a half and move on because it was overtime. Okay, keep going here. Yeah, prime time. Let me know. You come to the States, come down here to California. We'll meet up. Nope, never worked on a Brema ice maker. I've locked my keys in my van a bunch of times, Kyle. I actually carry 2 sets of keys with me, dude. Two sets of keys. I have one in each pocket at all times because I locked my keys in my van so much. So, and what I try to do too, we keep spare keys for everybody else. We make sure that the guys all have spare keys to their vans because there's nothing worse than being all over the place. Okay. Okay, keep going down here, seeing if I'm missing any questions. Yeah, I had to open supply houses too in the middle of the night. Yeah, and then they charge me, and then I take that supply house charge, and you mark it up, and then charge the customer. Just put it in the price of the compressor, and then mark everything up. So you got to make money. Got to charge the customer, for what it costs to open the supply houses too. I try not to open a supply house, unless I absolutely have to. No reason to ruin someone else's night. Okay, keep going. What else am I missing here, guys? No. Okay, HVACR trucker, you asked. No, my employees, they get paid the same rate that they get paid to repair something to drive. Okay. Now I know that some companies have done that where their travel time is at a lower rate and different things. We're a small company. We try to be more like a family oriented company. And don't get me wrong, we're totally about profits, but at the same time, we try to take care of our employees too. So I understand why companies do that because times are tight sometimes. And when gas gets going really high, and everything, sometimes expenses suck, but you got to keep the employees happy. So the way that I see it, and I'm not judging anybody for doing it otherwise, but the way that I do it is my employees, they get paid the same rate that they get paid to diagnose something to drive. Okay. So what if they're making, whatever they're making an hour, they get paid that travel time also. So okay, keep going. Yeah, I've never been able to see Mr. Ice. I've always wanted to work on some of those big giant industrial machines. Unfortunately, I can't take on any of that work because my employees don't know how to work on that stuff. And that was the problem I had with the hospital that I was working for, was that a lot of times with the hospital, it had to be me going out there and it just got overwhelming. over the years. So it was just easier to not take on that difficult work. But I've always wanted to work on some big industrial, like the Howe ice machines. I've watched some videos on them. They look really interesting to me, but it's just one of those things where I'd love to shadow someone on one of those jobs or something like that to go check one out. Yeah, it was a 10-hour compressor change out in the middle of the night, probably. I'm assuming by the time I had travel time, that location was an hour and a half from my shop. So I had an hour and a half there, probably 8 hours on site, and then probably an hour and a half on the way home. So it was probably 10 and a half hours, to be honest with you. So all together. Most of the time, I would say if that was during the day and I could plan everything, it probably would have only taken me 4 to 6 hours. But you also got to think too, it was in the middle of the night. So I had to wait an hour for the supply house to get there. Like everything just took forever. I had to go set up lights and do all kinds of stuff. You have to watch the video. It was a long one. All right. Okay. You said, does my wired 011. I'd rather not say my exact markup, but I would say that it's probably pretty average to assume a markup in my area is somewhere going to be between 30 and 70%. I know that's a broad range, but that's going to be as much as I'm going to give you right now. Somewhere between 30 to 70% is going to be a markup. So thanks a lot, Chrissy. I appreciate it, man. Okay, let's see. What else am I missing here? Okay, someone had asked me a healthcare. Does my healthcare benefit cover for employees and their families too? No, healthcare. I mean, the employee can choose to add their families to the healthcare, but we supply healthcare just for the employee, and that's it. Unfortunately, that's all we can afford to do is just the employee. There's a lot of companies out here um, that prime time. You got to remember, dude, that was a middle of the night compressor change out. When you add everything in there, that's why it took so long. Normally it wouldn't take 10 hours. Um, okay, let's keep going here. What am I missing there? Okay. Something that you can use to get parts in the area. Okay, so Sackman, you said the area you're in doesn't have access to easy supply house items. Do you know of parts such as condenser fans that are universal, volts, etc.? I mean, I honestly wouldn't be comfortable selling anything that's universal. Most of the time I try I mean, you can get like a Mars motor or something like that, but I don't know universal voltage. No, not for like condenser fan motors. You can get small condenser fan motors, 9721s, like for walk-in coolers and stuff. Those can be multi-volt. But as far as big stuff goes, I don't know about big AC stuff. Okay, keep going here. What am I missing? Any of you guys that are commenting about working with me and stuff, just send me an email. I'll talk to you guys. So keep in mind too, don't get your feelings hurt if I don't hire you guys just because you send me a resume. You got to understand I'm a small company and you guys see how like anal I am in my videos, right? My videos, I tone it down a little bit. So I am an asshole. So, and I'm very particular about the people that I hire. So don't take offense to it if I don't hire you, but send me an email. Okay. Thanks a lot, Kyle King. Talk to you later, man. Okay, what am I missing here, guys? I'm just trying to go down through here. What do I do during recovery? I'm very efficient. So, prime time, you asked if I'm yeah. So, I try to do everything systematically. So, for instance, one of the first things I'm going to do on a compressor change out is I'm going to take the recovery machine upstairs. I'm going to get it hooked up. Every time I go downstairs, I'm bringing something up. Hook up the recovery machine, get it running. And then I'm going to go downstairs and rope up the compressor and start roping up my tools, torches. So, that way you're not just sitting on your thumbs while you're waiting for something to happen. Always trying to move and be efficient. I'll be honest with you, that's probably one of the hardest things I have with employees and people that are working with me is using that same efficiency that I use because I'm always about let's move, let's not stand around, let's be productive. So, if I need to go get something from my van, I look around, what am I done with? What can I take down? There's certain things I won't take down just because I'm a little bit superstitious. I will never take my torches down until I'm done with the job and I've leak checked. That's just like a superstitious thing. So, but I mean, for the most part, you just, do everything you can. Bringing up your refrigerant, all that fancy stuff. If you're working on an ice machine and you're changing a compressor, while it's vacuuming down. When you're done doing the electrical and all that stuff, start cleaning the ice machine. I mean, any downtime you have, try to move and do something. That's the best thing I could do. So what is the comment motor for walk-in cooler? I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know if you mean common. 1127 Fasco, dual voltage and reversible. For some reason, I was thinking 9721 is the dual voltage reversible. Is it not? Yeah, I've carried those for like emergency replacements for condenser fan motors. I've done that. So, haha, Scott, right on. Yeah, I'm not trying to hide that I'm an asshole. So, oh, cool. Right on, Alicia. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Night, Chris. See y'all later. Um, yeah, I'd get pissed. Yeah, you don't put the torches away, man, because the moment you put the torches away and you're not done, there's going to be a leak and it's your fault. So, uh, okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Um, anybody else got any other questions here? I mean, I'll keep going. Good God, we still have 100 people in here. That's nuts. I can't believe that. Okay. It's all good, Paul. So you're going to want to watch the recap because in the beginning I covered a bunch of ice machine text tips and different things. You know what I am going to do real quick, guys, here is I'm going to post a couple links in here for you guys that that I had made. Let me pull this up real quick and close. And I'll post these links in here. If you guys click these links, so this is the Hoshizaki Tech Specs book. If you guys want to be lazy and not go to the website and find it yourself, that'll take you directly to the Tech Specs book, and that I linked in the video, told you guys about in the beginning. And this is the Hoshizaki cleaning thing, cleaning book. Both of those links are good. So click on those, and that'll take you guys to the Hoshizaki website directly to them, and you guys can get that information for the stuff. Let me look at my stuff here. I see your guys' emails coming through, so I'll get on those. Okay, one more question. Have I seen a new tool called Zoom Lock? With it, you don't have to do brazing. You can connect pipes with just a coupling. It basically snaps coupling without brazing. Okay. Yes, I have seen the Zoom Lock. I have not used the Zoom Lock. I do agree that there's a place for the Zoom Lock. Personally, I'm not going to buy a Zoom Lock because I have no need for it. But if you're working in a hospital situation, in a place where you have to get burn permits or you have to ask for approvals to light a torch, I could see the Zoom Lock being a very effective. But I will tell you, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but Zoom Lock is not to be used on old piping. It's only to be used on new piping, unless the old piping is in really good shape. So if you have pitted out, corroded pipe, you can't just clean it and slap a Zoom Lock on it. They recommend that it be brand new pipe. So that's a problem. Okay. And if you have old, let's say you're working on a resi split system and you've got a 3/4 inch suction line coming to it. And a lot of times on the old soft 3/4 inch flex lines, they were like oblong. They weren't round. They were like squared out and different things. Zoom Lock isn't going to work on that. Okay. But in a new installation situation, I could totally see where Zoom Lock would be great. So if you're doing a situation like that, some jobs I know, like AK Greaves has worked with the Zoom Lock and done some stuff with it, and he's talked about it. And it makes sense when you work in some of the industrial situations where they don't want you. Like I think he said he did a job where they spec'd out no brazing whatsoever. You couldn't light a fire at all. That's where the Zoom Lock would be perfect. Now, just so I have seen it. It's just not something that I'm going to use. So personally. Okay. Yeah, Paul Dieter, you said true reach-in today. You're gonna run into dirty condensers on true reach-ins all day long. That's what true reach-ins are. One of the number one things on them is dirty condensers and plugged cap tubes. So, and then temp control is going bad. That's another thing too. People taking out the factory coil sensing temperature controllers, putting air sensing in. Another thing that happens on the true reach-ins too is the door springs go bad and then the doors don't shut right. It's really interesting because True for many years, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, were I hated them. They were the biggest pieces of junk in the world. But now the True Reach-ins are one of the best ones out there. It's not that their quality has changed. It's just that their competition has gotten lesser and worse and worse, because then you get all these Korean manufactured refrigerators and Turbo Air and all these junky Everest, all those silly refrigerators that stink, and the Trues look really good. And what's actually happened too is that the high quality refrigerators like Hvacr and Trolson, they've had to reduce their quality. Hvacr isn't as big as they used to be. They really didn't reduce their quality per se when they merged with Trolson, but Trolson definitely reduced their quality. They don't have as high a quality as the the 1200, the G series refrigerators were in the early 2000s. They were high quality. And then the Trolsons, when they were made in California in the 80s, I had a hospital that had a ton of the Trolsons that were all solid stainless steel, made in California. They were great refrigerators back then. They were high quality. And actually, up until about 6 years ago, I was rebuilding the Trolson refrigerators, the ones that were made in California way back in the 80s, because you could just put a new condensed unit and a new coil in it and call it a day, and they'd last forever. But the new refrigerators nowadays, they're all just going cheap. Nothing's built to last anymore. So, okay. Thanks for coming in, guys, that are leaving right now. So anyone experienced the walk-in Heatcraft quick response, and what do you think of the EEV on those systems? Okay. I've worked on the quick response. I haven't had a problem with the EEV. The only problems I've had on the quick response is controller settings and sensors going bad. The quick response controllers, in my opinion, they're not too bad. But again, I probably got 5 of them out there, only 5. So I don't work on that many. I've got a restaurant that they spec'd quick response evaporators. That's what they order from Heatcraft Direct. And they have us install them, and they seem to be doing okay. So Atosa, I've seen their stuff. I don't want to work on it. So it all looks like junk to me. All right. Beacon 2, Sean. No, quick response is like a dumbed down beacon system. It's like, if I understand it correctly, I've never worked on a real beacon system, but the quick response like adopts a lot of the technology from the beacon, but it's just like a entry level version to a communicating electronic expansion valve is essentially what it is. And Heatcraft is pushing it out to everybody. So, okay, keep going down. Yeah, sensor issues. That's pretty much it. Okay, you ask about the Hoshizaki refrigerators. I'm not a fan of the Hoshizaki refrigerators. Now, I'm not gonna say that they're horrible, but I have a customer that switched over to the Hoshizaki refrigerators, and it was when they first came out, and they had a lot of cap tube problems, undersized condensers, a lot of issues, airflow issues, brand new from the factory. I'm gonna be honest and probably say that Hoshizaki has fixed those problems, but I don't work on any of their newer stuff. But when they first came out with their refrigerators, they were junk. They were junk, and the customer paid an arm and a leg for them in the beginning too. So, but I would give them the benefit of the doubt and try some of their newer stuff. It's probably pretty good, unless someone else has something else to say about it. So, um, okay. So open air reach-in cases having condensation buildup. How do you deal with it, and how do you check? Okay, so if you have condensation buildup, Jared is asking, on an open case cooler, that's a humidity issue. That's probably what that's going to be. You're probably going to have an indoor air quality issue, that or so long as the unit's not frozen up and you've gone through all the proper troubleshooting procedures. If you're just having condensation building up, it's more than likely humidity. But on the open air cases, a lot of times you have to have an air curtain on those things if that's what you're talking about, and you got to make sure that air curtain isn't disturbed. There's a lot of guys that deal with the supermarket stuff that can answer better than me. I've only have very limited work on the open air cases, so I would suggest reaching out to some of those guys. Some guys in the chat might do supermarket work when it comes to the open air stuff. If you're talking about just like reaching coolers and stuff, yeah, they mostly have to have an air curtain. True makes a couple of them and different things. You got to make sure that air curtain's there and working correctly. Okay. Yeah, electronic expansion valves is definitely where the industry's going. Yeah, Total Tech. I'll see what I got. I don't have any like really old stuff. I have I see I don't have anything in my office here. Nothing really cool, dude. I have an old glass dial a charge. And then I have a really nice Annie, an old all metal Annie that's about I'd say, you know, 6 inches by 12 inches tall. Really nice. I really like it because it's just cool, retro looking. If you guys don't know, Annie is a manufactured brand. It's a hermetic compressor analyzer used to bump start compressors, um, and check continuity and different things on the old, semi hermetic compressors. You can use them on the hermetically sealed ones too, but they're not very practical these days. I mean, I still have a hermetic compressor analyzer, but it's sitting in the shop. I don't one that's functioning. Um, but no, I don't have a lot of old refrigeration stuff. I wish I did have more, but I don't. So, but I'll see what I got. I'll see if I can find something cool. I have an old Simpson meter. I mean, but that's not very old. So, Simpson meters, what, late 70s, early 80s. So, um, yeah, I have a thermal engineering Annie. One of the newer ones, the big giant case, the black case. But this one is like a little gosh, where is it, man? I'm almost tempted to go grab it if it's in my garage. I don't think it is, but I'll bring it into the next live stream. So, okay. You love Annie. Right on. Rick, control your wife. She's distracting me. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Okay, guys. I think this is about where I'm gonna get out of here. I'm still blown away. There's 94 of you guys in here. It has been like an hour and 35 minutes. This is crazy that you guys just like to hear me talk. Okay. Yeah, I Total Tech. I have used an Annie to bump a compressor and get it going. Mechanical failure. I mean, I've gotten one to reverse the rotation, spin it backwards, free up the little chunk of whatever was in there, and get it through the night. I've done it, and it's made it through the night, and then go back the next day and pull it apart. I ended up replacing it because, yeah, it was a semi hermetic, but it was something inside, and it wasn't worth the headache for me. So just replace the whole thing. But yeah, yeah. Alien Ant Farm, is that Annie? Are you okay? Is that Alien Ant Farm? I think that is, right? That's a little different than the Annie that Rick's wife was talking about. No worries, guys. All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and close this up. Is a captain in LA County Fire in Riverside. Okay, Scott. Scott Lawrenson. That name is really familiar, dude. Do you have family in my area, Riverside area? I see that you said your youngest brother is a captain in LA County Fire, but is he from this area? Dude, Lawrenson sounds so familiar. It sounds like someone I went to school with. But yeah, I'm in Riverside. I'm in Harupa Valley is actually where I live. So I'm 20 minutes away from Riverside. So yeah. But that name sounds so familiar, dude. Lawrenson. Interesting. Yeah, catch you on the next one, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming in here. I gotta go eat dinner, so all right. Yeah, anybody that has any questions, send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Yeah, I'm sorry, Andrew Hicks. You are right. It is Michael Jackson. But that's where I really dated myself. I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed to say that because I do know that that is a Michael Jackson song. And then it was remade by Alien Ant Farm. So I'm sorry, dude. That's embarrassing that I actually said Alien Ant Farm instead of Michael Jackson. What an idiot. Okay. Right on, Brian. I'm glad you come in, dude. Okay, cool. Yeah, HVAC McMillionaire. Is that the dude that does the podcast with Gil? HVAC Uncensored? That is, right? Yeah, I think it is. Okay. All right. Cool. All right, guys. I'm out of here. I'm gonna close this out. Catch you guys on the next one. See you next Monday. And I got some videos coming up this week. Okay. All right, all.